Check this.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Chaotic Strategies. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Trav. Welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so that way you guys are always notified when I post new content. It's been a little bit since I posted last, been kind of changing some things up. If some of my returning subscribers kind of noticed the background may have changed a little bit, just trying to get everything set up to keep bringing you guys better content. So I had an idea, ran with it, we'll see how it works. Today's video, we are going to be going over another commander deck profile. Brought Brandon back in again. This is his new commander deck, or I shouldn't say new, it's a revised commander deck that he's been working on, and it's Child of Alara. That's going to be his main commander in this deck. Absolutely disgusting. If this deck takes off, I mean, it's brutal and it's pretty much unstoppable if you let it get that way. I'm pretty sure he's getting tired of us in our play group kind of picking on him, but we kind of know what this deck does. It's very dangerous, so sorry, Brandon. That's just kind of how we do it. But it's a phenomenal deck. I absolutely love the way that he built this deck and just kind of the way it runs. There in the beginning, it was kind of slow to get up and going, but he's kind of revised it and added more stuff to it since the making of this video. So it's even more just dangerous and disgusting now. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the Child of Alara commander deck profile.
Here we're going to start this rainbow commander deck off with the commander of this deck, and that's going to be Child of Alara. It's a legendary creature avatar, has trample, and when Child of Alara dies, you can destroy all land permanents that are on the battlefield, and they can't be regenerated. So very nasty card. I mean, as soon as it dies as a commander, it's a wipe. It's a board wipe, and then you bring it right back out again. It's pretty intense. So that's the commander of this deck. There's 18 creatures in this deck total, most of which being creature enchantments. So we start off with Felidar Guardian, and pretty much when it enters the battlefield, you can exile another target permanent you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control, so that way you can kind of reactivate effects on certain cards. We have Archetype of Endurance. Creatures you control have hexproof, which is pretty important, especially in this deck. Padim Consul of Innovation, legendary creature. Artifacts you control have hexproof. Hammelback Goliath, which is a very nasty card in this deck. So whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may put X +1/+1 counters on Hammelback Goliath, where X is that creature's power, and it stays. That's the really dirty thing about this, is that all of those +1/+1 counters stay on that card, and it doesn't matter whose turn it is. If there's creatures coming out onto the board, he's getting +1/+1 counters. It's unreal. I've seen this card get to stupid numbers playing against Brandon. Yep. Selvala, Heart of the Wilds, another legendary creature. Elf Scout, so whenever another creature enters the battlefield, its controller may draw a card if its power is greater than each other creature's power. That's going to be the main effect for that card. Genesis Hydra, which is another nasty creature that can build pretty quick. Whenever you cast Genesis Hydra, reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put a non-land permanent card with converted mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield, then shuffle the rest into your library. Genesis Hydra enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. Very nasty, very stupid card to try to get around. You have the Endless One, which is a creature Eldrazi. So it enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. Archetype of Imagination, another enchantment creature. Human Wizard, creatures you control have flying. Very nasty. Flying is just kind of a pain to get around all in general, in my opinion. Archetype of Aggression, another enchantment creature. Creatures you control have trample. Archetype of Courage, same thing. Creatures you control have first strike. Archetype of Finality. Creatures you control have Death Touch. Dragon Lord Dromaka. So Dragon Lord Dromaka can't be countered. He has flying and lifelink, and your opponents can't cast spells during your turn, which makes it very difficult to start really getting after this type of player once that card hits the field. Archangel of Tithus. Flying, as long as Archangel of Tithus is untapped, creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller pays 1 for each of those creatures. And as long as this creature is attacking, creatures can't block unless their controller pays an additional 1 mana for each of those creatures. So very, very nasty. You can he can force you to tap out your mana pretty quick. Majestic Myriarch. Let's see, its power and toughness are each equal to twice the number of creatures you control. So you can get pretty stupid, and then at the beginning of each combat, if you control a creature with flying, this card gains flying until the end of turn. And let's see, the same is true for first strike, double strike, death touch, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, trample, and vigilance. So very, very nasty card. Dragon Master Outcast. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 6 or more lands, put a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Time Stream Navigator. You're going to ascend as soon as you get it out onto the field. And then you can tap 4 mana and this card and put Time Stream Navigator on the bottom of its owner's library. Take an extra turn after this one. Activate this ability only if you have the City's Blessing. Camball, Council of Allocation. So whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, that player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. That card has pissed me off several times. And then for the last real creature in the deck, we have Garna the Bloodflame, who has Flash. So when Garna the Bloodflame enters the battlefield, return to your hand all creature cards in your graveyard that were put there from anywhere this turn. Other creatures you control have haste. So very, very nasty. He's got this deck pretty well set up. If he can get rolling, you pretty much can't touch him, and he'll just wait you out. It's very, very frustrating. So that's it for creatures. Runs 1 planeswalker in this deck. Sahili Rai, I believe is how you pronounce her name. He's got 29 sorceries in this deck. We'll start with Bala Red Recovery. So return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Seagate Restoration. You're going to draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand plus 1. You have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Mythos Snapdax. Doomscar, which is a great one. It has Foretell, and you can destroy all creatures. Fumigate, another, destroy all creatures, and then you're going to gain 1 life for each creature destroyed this way. A lot of board wipes in this deck. Adventure Awaits. Diabolic Tutor, so you can search your library for a card and put that card into your hand, and then shuffle your library. Beneath the Sands, which is kind of a mana ramp, you're going to search your library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle your library. And then this one's kind of a double. You can choose one or the other. So on one side you have Reason, and on the other one you have Believe. You can scry 3, or you have Aftermath. Look at the top card of your library. You may put it onto the battlefield if it's a creature card. If you don't, put it into your hand. Coveted Prize, Fortuitous Find, Sanguine Indulgence, Treasured Find, so you're going to return target card from your graveyard to your hand, and then you're going to exile Treasured Find. Attune with Aether, again another mana search. Adventurous Impulse, another mana search. Track Down, you're going to scry 3, then reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature or land card, you get to draw a card. Sylvan Scrying, again more mana search. Cultivate, more mana search. Ever After, you're going to return up to 2 creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Each of those creatures is a black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. But Ever After, put Ever After on the bottom of its owner's library. Blood Beckoning, you're going to return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. If this spell card was kicked, instead return target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Wildest Dreams, return X target cards from your graveyard to your hand, and then exile this card. Got Regrowth, return target card from graveyard to your hand. Rise again. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Entrancing Melody. Gain control of target creature with converted mana cost X. Lul Mage's Domination. Stream of Life. Target player gains X life. Day's Undoing, which pretty much just forces each player to shuffle his or her hand and graveyard back into the library, then draw 7 cards. Karn's Temporal Sundering. And then for the last sorcery, we have Rishkar's Expertise, where you're going to draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control, and you may cast a card with converted mana cost 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. So, a lot of cards in there for mana ramp to get into, a lot of your plays early on, and a lot of board wipes. A lot of board wipes in this deck. Okay, moving on to the instances. Only 6 instances in this deck. Anticipate. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Fated Return. You're going to put a target creature from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It gains indestructible. If it's your turn, you get to scry too. So that's pretty nasty because you can take anybody's card out of anybody's graveyard with that one. It's disgusting. Shred Memory, you're going to remove up to 4 target cards in a single graveyard from the game. And then you also have Transmute with this as well. Anguished Unmaking, exile target non-land permanent, you lose 3 life. And this one is a instant and a sorcery mix. So the instant side of this is return any number of target permanents you own to your hand. And the sorcery has Aftermath, and then you can discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards. And for the last instant, he runs Heroic Intervention. So permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until the end of turn. So just kind of a good way to get you through till you get to your big plays. Okay, enchantments. Quite a bit of enchantments in this deck. We're running 13 enchantments. So start with, you have Amex, which is you just control enchanted land. Market Festival, you're going to enchant land. So then whenever enchanted land is tapped for mana, its controller adds 2 mana in any combination of colors to his or her mana pool. Cryptolith Rite, creatures you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Titan's Nest, at the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard, then you're going to exile a card from your graveyard. Add a color list, spend this mana only to cast colored spells without X in its mana cost. Path to the World Tree. Rule of Law, each player can't cast more than 1 spell each turn. That card is frighteningly frustrating. I absolutely hated it when that card is played against me. Authority of the Consuls. Creatures your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, you gain 1 life. Ruined Halo. As Ruined Halo enters the battlefield, choose a card name. You have protection from the chosen card name. So if somebody's playing a boss monster, you can play that card, enchant that boss monster, and you have protection from it. So all around, really good card to have. Dictate of Erebos. Flash, whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Tainted Remedy. If an opponent would gain life, that player loses that much life instead. Murder Investigation. Enchant creature you control. When enchant creature dies, put X +1/+1 white soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield where X is its power. Aspect of Mongoose. Another enchant creature. Can't be the target for spells or abilities. When Aspect of Mongoose is put into the graveyard from play, return it to its owner's hand. And then for the last enchantment, we have Broken Fall. Return Broken Fall to owner's hand and regenerate 2 target creatures. Okay, moving on to artifacts. 9 artifacts in this deck. We're going to start with Conqueror's Galleon. It's an artifact vehicle. When Conqueror's Galleon attacks, exile it, at the end of combat, then return it to the battlefield transformed under your control. Universal Solvent, 7. You're going to tap 7 mana and this card. You're going to sacrifice it and destroy target permanent. Tamio's Journal. Soul Ring, which is a simple one, just going to tap it to add 2 colorless. Spare Supplies, when it enters the battlefield tapped, and when it enters the battlefield you can draw a card, and then you can sacrifice it as well to draw a card. Gilded Lotus, you're going to tap to add 3 mana of any color. Lightning Greaves, equipped creature has haste and shroud. It has a 0 equip cost. Opaline Unicorn, tap to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. And Orbs of Warding. You yourself have hexproof. If a creature would deal damage to you, prevent 1 of that damage. So this card is very nasty too. And last but not least, a lot of specialty lands. There's 14 specialty lands in this deck. We're going to start with Reliquary Tower. You have no maximum hand size while that one's on the field. Blighted Woodland, Shimmering Grotto, Cinderglade, Azorius Guildgate, Golgari Guildgate, Stone Quarry, Scoured Barrens, Darkbore Pathway, Crypt of the Eternal, so it enters tapped and you gain a life. Dismal Backwater, it enters the battlefield tapped, and when it enters the battlefield you gain a life. Izzet Guildgate, enters the battlefield tapped. Branchloft Pathway, and Mitjara Mirror Lake. That's it for the specialty lands, and then of course for the rest of the cards in this commander deck is just kind of a mix of different lands. So few blues, greens, whites, blacks, everything that you need. And that is my buddy's Child of Alara commander deck.
And there we have it, everyone. That is the Child of Alara commander deck profile. Just like I said at the beginning, just an absolutely devastating deck when it takes off. You know, being able to have everything you have, including yourself, hexproof, indestructible, flying. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting when it takes off, and pretty much untouchable unless you can get some of those cards taken off the field. So if you don't get them taken off right away, you might as well just scoop it, because you're not going to be able to do anything anyway. I mean, pretty much just locks you out and you can't do crap. But if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, that little notification bell, so that way you guys are always notified when we throw out new content. We've got a new video in the works right now, a little competition between myself, Brandon, and Austin, just like we did with the shock duels. I'll leave a link down in the video below if you want to check out our first shock duels. We got another one of those in the making as well. Bigger, better. Everything we're doing is just trying to get bigger, better as we progress through this. And if you guys want to support the channel, check us out on TCG Player. Just go into the store search finder, hit Chaotic Strategies. Our inventory is ever growing. Every card that you purchase on TCG Player helps support this channel to bring you guys bigger and better content. You guys be safe out there, and we'll catch you in the next video.